Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm okay. Welcome, everybody. Hello,
Welcome,
hello.
welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So, what are we on now? Season 3, episode
Episode
3.
3.
Oh my gosh, already. That's
I know.
amazing. Well done, us.
Time goes flat. What is it? Time flies by when you're having fun.
Yeah, it actually does. It really does. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for
Welcome.
joining us. Now, I'm very excited about this week's guest. Who is it, Sam?
Me too. I am so excited. We have Deborah Alma, who is a poet, editor, bookseller, and founder of the infamous Poetry Pharmacy, with locations now in Bishop's Castle, London Oxford Street, and now York, which is
Wow.
incredible.
It really is. It really is. I mean, the fact that she's managed to create this poetry pharmacy, which is essentially a poetry bookshop, but
Yeah.
with this sense that it's also medicine for the soul and for
Hmm.
everything else, and make it, a viable commercial success in these times is
Hmm.
absolutely amazing. And
Is.
I I know you've been there, but I had the joy of popping in this week. I thought I'd been meaning to go for so long. I thought I better go before we speak to her. And
Yeah.
everybody I know who's been just has the same reaction. It is just gorgeous and it is such a beautiful atmosphere and it is really medicine, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. The whole experience is just, I think I said to you when you said you were going, I was like, it's so serene. It's so calming. It just, the place itself, without even getting the poetry prescription, is medicine.
Yeah, you're totally right. Exactly. And I also think that you can tell that it's not, what's the word? It's not just a token, it's somebody who is a poet
Yeah.
themselves, who knows about poetry, who understands what poetry means and what it is. And also, it's so well curated. That's what I was amazed about. It's so inclusive, it's so diverse, there's just so much going on. And there's something for everybody, there really is,
Yeah.
and for every ailment as well.
Truly. And literally, like you said, the diversity, the range, the inclusiveness, just everything that you could want. And obviously, it smells amazing because it's above lush. So, everything you could want, it's just a whole body immersive experience.
That's very true. It is very true. I love that lush poetry combo.
Uh
I
huh.
want to know more about that whole, like, yeah, marriage of geniuses. Do we have Deb
I,
with us?
I think we do. Let me accept.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi there, hi there. I'm just sort of apologise because I tried to join on my computer, but I'm on my phone, so I hope you can hear me and see me okay.
We
Yes, we can.
can. All perfect.
Brilliant, that's brilliant.
Welcome, Deb. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. You've both been so supportive and lovely, so it's really nice to be on here. Thank you.
The pleasure
Not at
is
all.
The pleasure really is ours. We've got so much we want to ask you. Obviously, as a creative and as a poet yourself, as a lover of poems, and now as a prolific businesswoman as well. So I wonder if it would be great to just start from the beginning and get a sense of, yeah, what your journey has been with poetry itself and where you find yourself now. It's a big question, but however you would like to kind of introduce yourself, really.
Oh God, well, I'm so old for a start, so it kind of back a long way. But I guess it started really when I was doing some work with people with dementia using poetry to assist communication, which was a kind of a sort of serious underpinning of something that became slightly ridiculous later. And I come to the end of a difficult relationship, and I was looking on eBay late at night, as you sometimes do, imagining that I might have a camper van. I didn't have any money. And I came across a vintage ambulance for sale, and on the whim decided to leave the bid, a really low bid, and was really horrified to end up buying it. So I think you had a picture of it, Sam. I don't know if you've got
I
it. We
do.
might talk about
I
it
do.
later, but I bought this completely dilapidated 1950s ambulance, painted emergency poet on the side. I think this was in 2011, and dressed up as a doctor and decided to become an emergency poet, doing poetry on prescription from the back of an ambulance. And I used to go to, I mean, I did it once. I thought, no one's going to, no one, well, everyone seemed to really like the idea. I did it at a poetry festival and then got invited to two more and then another four. And then it was able to give up a sensible job and become a full-time emergency poet. So that's the kind of background to the poetry pharmacy. I mean, I could just keep going, talking more, but that's how I got into poetry as medicine, I suppose.
So we can thank eBay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably and a glass of wine as well. It might have had something to do with it.
Well,
It
it's
was
something to
funny.
thank.
Yeah, I was doing it on Facebook, but years ago, and my friends telling my friends I was doing it, and they were all going, "No, Deb, no, Deb," and I ended up doing it anyway.
Well, I'm glad you didn't listen to them.
Was there a specific pinpointable moment for you in the journey that the poetry pharmacy idea came to you? Like, if you hadn't bought that ambulance, do you think it would have still come to fruition?
I love your question. I'm not sure that it would in the same way, and it's one of those kind of odd, those sliding door moments where I was working with poetry in a kind of in the community, with people in hospices and in nursing homes and in other kind of groups to do that kind of work. But yeah, I think if I hadn't got that ambulance, it wouldn't. Mind you, I thought of the idea, so I think there's something about me that once I have an idea, I seem to stick to it and make it happen. I think it's a bit of a disease. But yeah, and then I did that for about I think 8 or 9 years, turning up at schools and libraries and festivals and conferences all over the country, in fact, even in other countries. And then I just got a bit tired of doing it. And I had, there was no power steering in the ambulance and turning up in city centres and trying to find where you're supposed to be parked. And so I decided that I knew about, I'm calling you now from Shropshire, and I live behind and above the shop, which is the original poetry pharmacy. And this building had been for sale for a few years. It's an old ironmonger's. And I remember looking through the window thinking that it looked like an old pharmacy. So the building prompted that next idea.
Wow.
That's fascinating.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. And
I
I
think
have people saying don't do it again, obviously.
no. Oh, I love the fact you're not listening to any of
No.
these people. It seems to be working for you, Deb. So just continue. Continue not listening to anybody.
Yeah, I don't. My partner's fed up with that now, though.
It feels to me that there's already a theme there. You've mentioned working with dementia patients. You've mentioned your own heartbreak. You've mentioned the ambulance, the pharmacy. There's this theme of medicine and of poetry as medicine, and some of it feels um, a conscious decision, and some of it feels like the stars aligned and things came together to kind of create this extended metaphor for you.
Mhm.
And it's obviously really needed because this is so successful and it continues to expand and be successful. And we're obviously, one of the things that we really want to do here in this on this kind of platform and in this space is talk about the context in which we're writing or reading
Mhm.
or and it's very extreme times, that are full of pain.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you can talk a bit more on poetry as healing and words as healing and the power that they have to change hearts and minds, or what your journey has been with poetry.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's a lovely question, and I guess it runs through everything that I've done, as you said in the question. And I think what I learned with working with people with dementia, and in hospice care was about how profoundly somebody could be changed by reading a poem. And of course, with dementia, people with dementia, a poem is short. They don't have to, but reading generally is really helpful for good mental health, I believe. But with people with dementia, it's short and sweet. Their attention span is not, they can't remember the beginning of a story by the time you've come to the end of it. And so poetry was really effective, that distillation of emotion. Or you could take them to the seaside in a poem, or fly a kite in a poem, and I would watch how transformed they were, and that mood would stay with them. So I saw it kind of working on a kind of fundamental level. And then when I went, the ambulance is obviously a piece of theatre, and it's light-hearted. The medical conceit, as you said, ran through everything, and I had great fun with that. But the point of the thing, and the poetry I prescribed, was all good quality, intelligent, accessible work. And it did two things. It was to get the art out there to people who don't normally read it. But also I learned in this, what I thought would be something slightly frivolous, is that people were profoundly affected by it, and it worked. And I was really surprised by how people loved it, and continue to love it, even just if they pop into the bookshops and encounter it in a small way. But that one-to-one thing was really special.
That's absolutely beautiful. It's so magical in which, like, the way poetry can touch each individual person in so many different ways. And it can be the same poem, it can mean something completely different to somebody else. But my question, I guess, is the marketing that you do. I think you do it so well with the little prescriptions,
Yeah.
the medicine bags, the pill jars. Whereabouts did that come into it? Was that something that you thought about from the start? Was that an addition when you moved into the shop?
That's another good question, actually. What happened with the ambulance is there were one-to-one consultations going on, but quite often there were queues, and I wanted something to engage people under an awning that was attached to the ambulance. And I had someone with me, and it were different friends, actually, poet friends. And they would be my nurse first, and they would run the pharmacy underneath the awning. So it was kind of like a waiting room, but it was something, we gave away the poems in pills, and people could self-prescribe along a range of different emotional issues and open up the pill. And they were talking points for connection, and, and people love those as well. They're like little poetry sweeties, aren't they, in a way? And so it started right back at the beginning, as soon as I got the ambulance. And then when I had the bookshop, I had them there mainly to dress the space, to to kind of explain the idea, which they do really effectively. But I didn't really expect that they would sell. But they have, and so the way I designed it right from the beginning was on some really terrible app on my phone, and and a stamp. We still pretty much, do it in the same way, and we make them on recycled paper from banana waste now, and things have got a bit more stepped up and a bit more professional, but not much actually. So it's the original idea carried through.
And just in case anyone hasn't seen them, there's plenty.
You've got it really badly.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever I've come down with, it's not clearing. I think I need more.
Sam's got a lot of ailments.
I don't want it to heal if I can come back.
Well, that's just gorgeous, and I can imagine that over the years, especially in the early years, you know, with the actual ambulance and also just the one-to-one consultations, you must have heard so many human stories, you know, that touched you. What was that experience like in terms of just that human connection as well?
Um, it's that's the best thing, you know. And what I do, it's a very kind of bounded thing that happens. So the questions are all about the person at their best, you know, what they like to do, their reading habits, favorite books from childhood, how they like to relax, so that I sort of describe it as a massage for the mind, so that the process of lying on a stretcher or on a chaise longue now in the bookshop is a pleasurable experience. So it's a kind of virtuous circle, you know. You ask people lovely questions that they enjoy answering, and then I'm interested in people. Like you, actually, with what you're doing here. I'm interested in what they're reading. You learn a lot about somebody from their reading habits, don't you? And it was a really quick way in. So it was a way of becoming intimate with someone, a stranger, without being invasive. And that was and it was only at the end of the consultation where I might say, is there anything I can give you a poem for, that they might have a problem, you know, they might have grief or heartbreak or, you know, quite profound things. We don't dwell on that. The poem is the gift and the answer, not me or my wisdom.
Beautiful. The poem is the gift and the answer.
Yeah.
I love that.
I should be a poet, shouldn't I? Have to write that down.
Wow.
Maybe consider taking it up.
Yes, we'll come back to that.
Oh no.
Have any customers surprised you with the kinds of ailments they bring to poetry?
Oh my goodness, yeah, all the time. I mean, there are lots of things that are, you know, that people have in common, you know, and the state of the world and living with uncertainty are very common. But you do get you do get really bizarre questions, you know. But actually, they might ask for something, but quite often people aren't looking after themselves in a particular place. So I'm already listening for something else, you know. So sometimes it might not even be the thing that they ask for. But you do get things like, I don't know, the death of a dog, or I've got a problem in a relationship in the workplace, or, you know, very particular things. And they can be, obviously you're not going to necessarily find a poem that's going to address that. It's not going to give you a solution, but it can be something more Zen-like than that, can't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And so you mentioned considering being a poet yourself, and we know that you are a poet yourself. And we'd love to know more about your own work and your own creativity, your practice, how that's evolved now that you've got this huge creation, which must take up so much of your mind and your time and your imagination. But also, you're a curator, you're an editor, you know, there's so many different ways with which you work with writing and poetry. And I imagine quite a lot of interaction and collaboration. So I wonder if you could speak a bit about that.
Yeah, well, the whole business feels, I mean, it took me a long time to actually accept that I'm a business person, which seems ridiculous to me now, but it came out of arts practice, you know, and wanting to make a place for poetry and a place for people to come to. So I've had to learn a lot. But the business and the moments where I am most enjoying it are when I'm being creative. And I have lots of opportunity to be creative, you know. Even the shop in York was we didn't have enough money to do it in a traditional way. So I had to scrabble around for bits of furniture and design the light boxes and get them made, and, you know, and literally hands on. So the job itself is very creative. And and very completely time consuming. So I don't have much time for my own writing. But I was talking to somebody else about this recently, and I think when you, for me anyway, I don't need to be writing it down. I often think that being a poet or a writer at all is about noticing. And I think if you're still noticing, you're still in touch with that creative part. You're just not necessarily writing it down. And I like that. I think, oh, if I if I had time, I'd write that down, but I don't. But I don't mind.
It's
I
such a
love.
beautiful way to think of it, actually.
Yeah, but poetry really, and that goes back to so much, especially in terms of oral traditions, in terms of the difference between, the masculine and the feminine ways of doing things, the creativity that comes out in so many different ways, whether it's building a shop, coming up with curating a room, raising children, whatever that may
Yeah.
be, the imagination, the creativity that's required and the poetry that's required for all of that, and that it's not just one binary way of doing it, which is writing it down and going down the traditional route.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that, because that kind of means we're all poets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only difference with poet or other writing is that someone spots those odd juxtapositions or the strangeness of life or the way something might look beautiful, whether it's you're washing on the line or something more profound, is just we all see it, and I do believe that everyone is capable of being a poet if they want to.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed since I left school, that poetry seems to drop off a little bit after you leave school. And I'm not
Yeah.
sure whether that is because it's taught as something to analyze or whether it's taught as its homework. But my question is, have you seen like a varied age coming into the poetry pharmacy? Has that kind of picked up in the age brackets being lower? Or is it?
Mm. And that's another interesting question, because I really agree with you. I think there's something in the UK, and I think it's more universal than just the UK actually, that we are put off poetry by the way teaching it is approached. And again, that's one of the drivers behind what I do, is to all art that's a really accessible one that has something to say to you, and that all of us actually turn to the lyrics of songs, or at weddings and funerals, we turn to words that have meaning, don't we? And I think it's deeply rooted in us, and yet schools manage to put us off an art that should be ours, and I think in the past, there were poets like Dylan Thomas was so famous, and everybody had the new Dylan Thomas. He wasn't. He was very popular. Everyone read poetry back then, and so something has happened. But I do think that there's a change, and I think Instagram, in particular, has had a lot of positive effect in changing that. And in an uncertain and increasingly secular world, we necessarily look for meaning, and poetry is a quick way to help us live with that uncertainty, I think. And the sort of second part of your question was about ages. It's interesting to me how in the ambulance anyone from 4 to 100 would come in, because there's something about British people that will have a go, and it's like a fairground ride going into the back of an ambulance and having someone dressed up asking you questions. So that was right across the board. In Oxford Street, it's very much younger people, and that's really nice to see. So probably, the average age is, we get a lot of international tourists. In Oxford Street, people have to know we're quite difficult to find. So there's not much passing trade. So people have heard of us and seek us out. And I guess it's probably mainly women, which is probably not a surprise to you both, and younger women, maybe probably 24 to 32 would probably be the peak of the people buying the poetry pals and the books, which is
Wonderful.
So
lovely.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because for a long time, I really was put off poetry, and
yeah,
not to do with the actual poetry itself, because I would read it and think that's beautiful, but I'd
yeah,
associate with, which is so funny because I love to annotate now, but I would
yeah.
associate it with annotating and having to dissect it. And oh, the curtains were blue because she was sad, and that was the kind of, the
Yeah,
school thinking that I
yeah,
would associate. And now I associate it with healing and growth and just
nice.
companionship and being understood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wisdom.
which is what it should be, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's again
yeah.
what your stories helped bring me back to, which is why it's so transformative and important.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's lovely. Thank
It is
you.
incredibly heartening to know that it's such, a young group of people
Yeah,
coming. I mean, that is wonderful.
it is. Yeah, it's really
And
nice.
speaking of the youth, I wonder if we could go back a little bit, just a couple of years.
Yeah, okay.
You were growing up, and Sam has rightly shared, and I know a lot of people in the chat are saying the same thing, that they've had to kind of rediscover poetry after school because of all the analysis and the kind of the correlation with exams and things like
Hmm.
that. But when you were growing up, Debs, could you paint a picture of kind of what poetry and words and writing meant to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't sound like it now, but I come from quite a North London council estate, mixed race. So my background was not poetry at all, and I think where I was growing up, it was considered not for the likes of us, so maybe that helped get it, that people, lots of people feel that way. My grandmother read poetry to me, but nursery rhymes when I was younger. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a nerdy, bookish young woman who read everything, probably to escape from the kind of chaos of my council estate. I hid behind books and just read everything. Yeah, and just like poetry, but school put me off as well, and I didn't read a lot of it. And when I went to do a creative writing degree when I was in my 40s, and realised that I was a poet. Really late actually. And loved it. And so I was reading poetry, but just in amongst everything else. But
Yes.
yeah,
How amazing to just find that out that you have that gift.
Yeah.
And you have that gift so well.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't. It feels a bit funny saying a gift. You obviously haven't read my poetry.
Oh, I did. Oh, I did.
No, that's embarrassing. Oh, don't talk about that because it's quite rude.
Good. Good. I
Many
love
of the
that.
best things are.
Yeah, they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you think, going back to like the age brackets, our like generation now is so doom scroll, TikTok, short attention span. What is it that you think they're now getting back involved with poetry? Is it because they're typically shorter? Is it because they can relate?
I think, I mean, it might be true of your generation, but it's true of me as well. I mean, I use Instagram obviously for work, and I get seduced by the little reels that go past and how beautiful things look as well as anyone, and have noticed that my own attention span is affected by that. So I think it's across the board, isn't it? But that phone use, I do think that. I mean, maybe the Poetry Pharmacy is. I mean, there's a lot of really good content actually for poetry on Instagram, and
Mm.
we've got busy lives. There are times I feel I don't want to be pessimistic about it really. There are jobs that we do, things that we have to focus on. And I still think that we can, if we want to, if we're interested enough, and that we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much for going onto Instagram and having a short little bit of text that makes us feel better or makes us go out in the rain and see it in a different way rather than moaning about it, but, you know, seeing it as beautiful or whatever. And I'm not sure. I think it is good because it's bite-sized, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah,
It
agree.
is it's just in general more accessible now as well through Instagram as a whole. I mean, without Instagram, we wouldn't be here. So
No,
that would be
exactly.
very contradictory of me to say. But I think there's so many poets that now just operate from social media and post their poems, their first drafts, even just as a
Yeah,
post, and you get to go along the journey with them and see them get published. And I think that's a very lovely part of
yeah.
the whole book space.
Yeah, the book space is so nice, isn't it? You know, that we can communicate with each other and have that, because it can be a bit niche, let's be honest, and to connect with each other, you know, across space in that way is really lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
community
Find
is
your people. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Community is everything. We realised accidentally that we've created a gang of book slags, and that's because we all seem to be reading several books at once. So we
Yeah.
decided we were going to claim that title.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm one of those. That's brilliant.
Yay!
We have a
Well
new
done.
member.
We've got t-shirts and
Oh, have
bookmarks and
you?
merch on the way. On the
Great.
way. Yeah, Sam's working on it as we speak.
It's on the
Um,
to-do list.
yeah, but you're right, you know, that is one of the positives of, you know, what can be a very
Yeah.
tricky, controversial space. But when you find your fellow nerds and book slags, and it's a really beautiful, gentle,
Yeah.
positive space in a lot of ways and inspiring. Um, and so maybe just we could talk a little bit about some of your favourite poets, maybe who inspired you along the way, but also the new ones that are coming up. And I wonder, I've had like brushes with some of the spoken word world as well, which I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love. I think is brilliant. And another thing that we're trying to do in this space, as you've mentioned many times, is just make it all super inclusive, super accessible. There's no snobbery here. You know, we're all from humble backgrounds as well, which is incredibly important. Class and
Yeah.
race and, you know, identity in so many ways really plays a part in all of this and where you feel you belong. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
things we both said about the pharmacy is just how inclusive it really is. So I wonder if you could talk about the poets, you know, that have inspired you, that are up and coming, that are exciting. But also I wonder, and this might be tricky, but since you are such an expert in this particular pharmaceutical field, where you would like to see it go, or what you feel is missing, or what you would like to see more of.
Oh, that's a massive question. I'm not going to. Am I going to remember the beginning of the question by the time I get to the end of the question?
Jen, pick whatever you want.
Poems that have inspired me. Oh my goodness! I mean, you know, I've edited lots of books, so I'm reading like mad person poetry all the time, and so I'm reading a lot. So I can get a bit jaded because I'm reading a lot because I have to do it for kind of work. And then every now and again, well, not every now and again, all the time, poems just cut through. I mean, it's really hard. I think people like Anne Sexton and Sylvia Plath would have given me as a woman permission to write about the domestic and the detail of the messy stuff of being a woman. And there's a poet called Esther Morgan that I like. Evan Boland. I never know how to pronounce her name. Evan Boland, Irish poet, died a couple of years ago. She writes beautiful poetry, sort of tender poetry about motherhood, that I really like. And then I have been involved in the poetry world and the poetry community for a long time now, and went to all the poetry festivals with the ambulance. And I feel like I know so many people, read their work, listen to them reading their work. So I'm influenced all over the place by so many people. Once I start saying, so it's impossible. Oh, can you see me again?
Yeah. Oh, we can now. You're back.
Yeah.
Once you start saying,
my phone wanted to update itself. Yeah, great timing.
Great timing.
Yeah, just so many, and I mean, Dylan Thomas I mentioned earlier. My grandmother was from South Wales, from Swansea, and she was a Thomas. So I've got somewhere or other. I think I'm related to him as well. But I love his musicality and so on. And I have forgotten the second bit of your question. Oh, where do I see poetry going, or a gap?
where would you like? What would you like to see more of, or that kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess those are kind of. I guess I would like it. There's something about me that, when I think I'd like to see more of, I have to go and do it. I'm going to do it or trying to make it happen. I think for me, opening York on a high street. So in Bishop's Castle, there's nothing down the high street but tumbleweeds. So people had to come and find us. It's in the middle of nowhere. Oxford Street it's ridiculous. It's the heart of retail, but people don't know we're there. So we don't get passing trade there either. And being in York opposite Waterstones is on a high street. It's to attract people like the ambulance who are, I've got to get past them being put off by the word poetry over the door. So it's got to be attractive, like a sweet shop. So yeah, I guess, so I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see people reading poetry books on the tube more often and on the train, and that I've got loads of ideas, and to talk to publishers of poetry more to make sure that because sometimes they can be part of a kind of ecosystem that shuts people out. So a lot of the covers, and it's getting better, but a lot of the covers don't explain the book, and you have to know the poet, you have to know what you're looking for to go and buy it. And so I think, if the world of publishing and the world of publishing poetry could be more inclusive. I mean, it's much better than it was. There are really great examples. Macmillan as a publisher are really good at doing that. Batsford Press, and Candlestick Press. I don't know if you know those 10 poems instead of a card. Those kind of initiatives for making it more of an everyday purchase for people. I can just ramble on about lots of things. I'll stop.
That's what this is for.
I couldn't agree more about Macmillan. Also, when those books were coming out, they were so on it with the promotion and getting influencers involved. That's how I found out. And obviously went to the book launch, and it was just such an amazing night, such an amazing project to be involved with promoting them. I just loved it, and I thought Macmillan was amazing at that as well.
Yeah, they're really lovely. And Gabby, my editor there, is just lovely. It was her idea to have a book for each of the sections of the bookshop. So yeah, that was lovely.
And aesthetically, it looks beautiful too, with all the different colours and.
Yeah, and again, they're like sweeties, aren't they? I think the colours are attractive and not off-putting, but the poems inside are intelligent poems. I stand by the poems.
Such good names as well, so succinct and you know what you're getting. And I find that really I want to go to it rather than a big long title too.
Yeah.
How have you managed to protect the authenticity of the poetry pharmacy? Because in this day and age, there is always someone that's going to bounce off your idea and try and do it on a lesser scale. So how have you managed that with growing in popularity?
Your questions are really, they're good questions, Sam. I mean, have you got anything in mind there and particularly
A recent
noticed
post
things?
may have come to mind.
Right, okay. I'm not sure if I've seen that, but I had,
Oh, I mean your post. There's nothing else.
oh, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. We've had people copy the pills, the poems, and call it Poetry Pharmacy and call it the same name, even Poemcetamol. There was somebody, internationally, and I sort of write and say, could you come up with your own idea or something, and those things are difficult. Authenticity, yeah. So people do copy, and I guess some of that's inevitable. Yeah, and as for being authentic, I think for me, the whole premise is grounded right back in working with people with dementia. It's almost like the heart of it comes from something which is about communicating with people for for a reason that's a kind of heart one. There's no way I've gone into it going, you don't have a shop in the middle of nowhere selling poetry because you want to make lots of money, so yeah, there's that. And for us to be inside Lush as well, because they have quite good employment practices. I've learned a lot. Mark Constantine, CEO of Lush, has sort of mentored me through an exchange in poetry, which has been really useful. But having a kind of insider look at how Lush operate, they pay people the Living Wage Foundation minimum wage, for example, and we match that. Those things. So our staff costs are quite high for a business. We have, we're probably overstaffed if you looked at it from a traditional retail business, but we like people to write prescriptions and spend time and be available to chat to people. That idea of welcome is fundamental to what we do, and we employ people who are kind as well as qualified to do the job. So those things have continued because it came out of arts practice, I suppose.
How refreshing. How refreshing that is actually possible, within this model, this
I don't
capital.
know.
Well, you're doing it. You're doing it, Deb. You're doing it and you're expanding at the same time. And there's such a demand for it. And, the fact that there can be values and ethics and all of that. And, it's so important. And it's also, of course, part of the healing and the magic that happens in the space. And it's wonderful to hear about Lush as well. I was a little bit aware of it, but it's lovely to hear from the inside that is the case.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And the
Thank you.
staff are absolutely exceptional. Like they make everything
Yeah.
elevated times 10.
Yeah.
I know. They're just lovely. Just so lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Sam, what do you think? Shall we have a look at, first of all, maybe the picture that you
Yes,
selected?
I have it here.
So,
So,
Deb, just to explain, yeah, go on, Sam. You're much better at this bit than I
so
am.
we started a Picture This segment
Right.
last week, and basically we show a photo from scrolling down your Instagram feed and just clicking on one.
Okay.
And there's always a story behind a photo. And it's not just stories of books and poetry that we love here. We love all kinds of stories. And this is your photo.
Yay!
1950s Morris, that is.
Oh,
So, what is the story behind that photo?
Well, that was that had been sort of freshly painted, and that's at Wenlock Poetry Festival, which sadly doesn't exist anymore. But it was quite a long-running, successful poetry festival, and I volunteered there and took the ambulance there as a trial. But yeah, I said I bought it on eBay, and I was a single parent, and I bought it on my credit card. I couldn't afford it, but I did it anyway. And I kind of thought, if it doesn't work, I can sell it for more than I paid for it, hopefully, if I didn't crash it. But it worked out. But yeah, so I think that was the first poetry festival appearance where I was trying it out.
Please tell
And
us you still have the ambulance.
honestly, yeah, about the ambulance.
Please tell us that you still have it.
Oh, well, that ambulance was a disaster, and I had it for a couple of years, and then I upgraded to a 1970s Ford ambulance, right? In 1970s, and I bought it from an old nuclear power station, so it had hardly been used.
Wow,
Really
wow.
odd, but that was really good ambulance, and it was reliable. It wasn't on the back of a trailer half the time. But when I opened the Poetry Pharmacy in 2019 here in Shropshire, it sat in the car park around the back, and I couldn't go out in it anymore because I was so busy with the shop. I think the day we opened, we were filmed by BBC Breakfast, and it just took off. And I knew I mean, it was such hard work. I can't tell you. It was so exhausting, but I knew I couldn't do it. So I sold her, and I was awful. It's one of the worst things, and went away on a trailer, and I burst into tears. But with that money from the ambulance, we did buy a little camper van. So I got my camper van in the end.
Such a full circle moment.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Good trade-off. I like that. Good upgrade.
Yeah.
And
I do
you got
miss
the
it
poetry
though.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Great story.
Shall we jump into a this or that round, Nina?
I think
Are you
so.
up for that, Deb?
I don't know what a this or that round is, but yeah, I'm up
So
for it.
we will ask you a question about
Mhm.
reading, and it's one or the other, and it's this or that.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
choose between the two. It's one or the other. That's it. It's a quick fire round.
Okay.
So you can just answer spontaneously. You can pass if you don't want to answer the question.
Yeah.
There's no obligation, but it's just a bit of fun.
Yeah, go for it.
Hardback or paperback?
Ooh, paperback for the smell.
Yeah. Audiobook or physical book?
Physical book.
Ebook or physical book?
Physical book.
Loan a book or buy a book?
Buy a book, I'm afraid.
One book on the go or multiple?
Oh God, loads.
Same.
This might be more for like stories, but one POV or multiple POVs?
What's the P? I'm so old.
Point of view.
One point of
Oh
view,
God, yeah.
multiple.
Sorry, in fiction. Ah. Oh, that's too hard. I can find really good examples of both. Probably single point of view, actually. Yeah,
First person or third person?
third person maybe. Yeah,
Short
I
book
won't say
or
one.
chunky book?
Impossible. It depends, doesn't it? But if you love it, chunky. You don't want it to end, so chunky then.
100%. A morning reader or a nighttime reader?
I'd love to be able to read in the morning. I would, because it would mean I'd have time. But evening reader, bedtime.
Fast reader or slow reader?
Depends on the text and why you're reading it. I'd like to read slowly if I can.
Read in bed or read on the sofa?
In bed.
Read with music or read without music?
Without music.
Reread or read only once?
I reread quite often. Yeah, when I'm in my 80s or my 90s sitting, I'll have all my favourite books around me for comfort and I'll reread them.
Lovely. Crack the spine or keep pristine?
No, I don't crack the spine.
A girl after my own heart.
Sacrilege.
Outrageous.
Annotate or keep clean?
It depends. I love annotating. I know that you do that, Sam. I love a really soft pencil. And if it's workish and I can get away with it, then I annotate it. But I do like lending books. So when you've had someone else's annotation, it can be a bit off-putting. So, but I love annotating.
That makes me happy.
Bookmark or dog ear?
Oh my God, no, not dog ear. My partner and every night I undo his dog ear thing and put a bookmark in it just to annoy him, and then we just have this. Oh, just awful. Just
We agree.
awful.
We agree with you.
Couldn't agree more.
Shocking.
Biography or self-help?
I'm not, even though we sort of sell self-help, I don't call it that quite. I'd say psychology, philosophy, not so much into self-help. So probably they're not for me, which is probably a surprise. So biography.
Nice. Buddy read, reading in groups or reading alone?
When I've read in groups, I really like it, but I don't do it very often. And if I had to choose, it would be reading alone.
Do you go by a TBR list to be read, or are you a mood reader and you go with what you feel?
What sort of go through your to be read pile in a kind of systematic way.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do that. I don't always do that, but that's what I prefer.
Escapism or gritty realness?
I can't answer it. That's horrible. Both of those things. Depends what you need, doesn't it? If I had to choose, I'd probably have escapism, in the end. I'm still thinking about the books I can't do without, and a lot of the classics, and their escapism, aren't they? Because I don't live.
And that is the end of the This or That round.
Well done. Full
I think
points,
I
Deb.
should get a prize. You're all judging me. So did I get away with it then? Your judgment was okay.
Absolutely.
You've got 4 marks.
Yeah.
So you mark.
You aced it.
Only you, because you got 4 marks.
Because you asked. Now, Sam, we've got one more segment, which is quite fun. It kind of
We
puts you on the
do.
spot a bit, but hopefully this is fun. Sam came up with this lovely idea about a fantasy dinner party where you get to invite your favourite writers. And we thought it would be wonderful if you could imagine who you might invite, which poets you might invite to your imaginary dinner party.
So just to
Yeah.
set the scene, it's
Yeah.
you and
Okay.
9 other people.
I better write this down for numbers. And can I have dead poets?
Yeah.
Can I resuscitate them?
Death is not an obstacle here.
All right. That's really hard, and again, because of my poet mates. So I hope no one is watching that I know. I have to have my partner Jim, who is a poet, published by Jonathan Cape. He is almost completely deaf now, so this is the really sad thing. I'd like him at the dinner party when he could hear, because he's funny and charming and intelligent, and but he avoids dinner parties now, so that's partly sad. Then I've got to have my nurse first, Pat Edwards, who works with me here at the Poetry Pharmacy, for a laugh. But she is a poet. And also probably my friend Jill Connors for the sort of similar reason. And we'd sort of take the piss out of each other. Apologies for swearing. And then there's a poet, Claire Shaw. I don't know if you've come across Claire Shaw. Claire is a friend, not a close friend, but they would be just such fun. So I think that group of people, we would have a bit of a laugh, probably drink too much wine and take the piss out of the other poets. And then There's a poet friend of mine, Catherine Bevis. It's published by Seren, who died a couple of years ago, really much too young. And I loved her very much, and I'd love her to be there, and she would be funny as well. And then I have this poet crush. I don't know if you have crushes on historical
Absolutely.
figures.
Yeah.
Mine's a bit niche, right? And it's the poet Gerard Manley Hopkins,
Oh, wow.
who
Okay.
is a priest, right? So I think it's a sexy priest seduction thing that I quite like.
We love a trope here.
Yes. And then I said Dylan Thomas before, didn't I? Dylan Thomas would drink too much and be funny, and I quite like him to be there. And then this is what about Chaucer? Chaucer, you know, I wouldn't understand a word he was saying, but he'd be funny because he was funny. And then how many is that? I think I'm there. And there's one this is a weird one as well, very niche. There's a poet, medieval Welsh poet called Gwerfyl. I never know how to say it, and if my friend Pat's listening, she'll criticise my Welsh. Gwerfyl Mackine, and she was really witty, bawdy, feminist, medieval writer, and her sort of translations there. She wrote a poem to the clitoris and about penis, and they're so rude and funny, and she'd be great to have there as well. Would that do me? I think that's...
Love this. Absolutely. What a table.
That sounds like the most iconic dinner party ever. And I am going to apply to be a fly on the wall.
You can come.
I'll
Thank
pour
you.
your wine.
Put you in. We'll get rid of Chaucer.
I'll bring the food.
We'll be your servers. How about that?
Okay. I think it'd be quite a bawdy one, actually.
Yeah, that's why you want to be there. Great choices, Deb. Well,
Thank
that
you.
sounds like a gorgeous point to finish. And we are so grateful for your time. This has been such a rich conversation. Thank you so much, Deb.
Thank you. Thank you both. It was lovely.
It was so
Absolutely.
lovely to get to speak to you and get all the insight on the poetry pharmacy and, of course, everything else that you've shared with us and the beautiful stories. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rosie. And thanks, Sam, for being so supportive for so long as well. You've been so lovely.
Always, always, always.
Take care. Are you going to turn me off, or do I have to do it?
Turn yourself
Just
off if you can.
Okay.
the
Oh,
little
yeah.
X in the
I
corner.
got it. Take care.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my God.
I love her so much more.
Oh, that was so delightful.
I literally adore her.
She's a legend, an absolute legend. And it makes me so happy to see people like that blossoming and blooming and thriving, because she is the real deal. Like, I can imagine like her ancestors like just being poetic throughout the ages, and then this woman coming along and finding a way to bring it to so many people. And like you said, it's so rare. We both know so many writers and poets, especially, it's not a commercial thing. It's so, so hard
No.
to marry the two. And here she is doing it in the right way. And it just proves that it's
And
possible.
on Oxford Street.
On Oxford
Like,
Street, like,
come on.
what a legend. But magic is possible, like she's doing it, and she's doing it because it's so deeply rooted in the right values. Yeah,
And
that
truly,
was,
that's why I think it works so well, because it's
yeah,
all from the heart. And you
yeah,
can tell that in every little detail of the shop, every little thing she says, every little poetry pill. Like,
yeah.
everything is so personal.
Yeah, exactly. And like she said, it came from the art. It was creative from the beginning. The whole point was to make it accessible, not to make it viable. And I think that's
Yeah.
really important. And because of that, the rest came. And I just think that's such a lesson, like sometimes also I get frustrated with my creative friends because, they just sit in their room kind of being creative, but they've got no idea how to come out into the world and be a part of the world. And they're so worried about selling out. And of course, that's a legitimate concern, but the two don't always have to, kind of be
Yeah.
at loggerheads, or there's a way to do both without selling out. And I just feel like Deb is a great example of that.
I think she is the example for me.
Yeah.
And to hear that she only picked up, like, realizing she was a poet in her 40s, like, mad respect, because the things that she has done since and the things that she will go on to do, like, we're already at 3 locations. We're
Right.
gonna be in New York in 10 years.
Hundreds. 10
Just,
years, 1 year. Give her a
yeah,
year. Give her
1 year,
6 months.
6 months.
It's no thing for Deb. Deb and
Literally
her little
tomorrow.
ambulance.
Yeah. I can already see it flourishing from what it was when I first went. And to see that for such a lovely human being who's doing it for the right reasons, with a good heart, with the best of intentions, with everything that she's doing,
Yeah.
I just, all I want is success for that woman and that business. That is like, I just love to see it happen.
Yeah, we love to
And
see it. And it's a win for everybody. Everybody wins.
mhm,
Yeah.
everybody wins, because poetry makes you feel better no matter what it is, who, like, where you're reading it, at what point in your life, what poem you're reading. And I think I said this before, it can mean so many different things to so many different people.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
I could read the same poem as you and you will relate it to something completely different than me, but we could have a universal experience of that has shifted something.
Yeah. And there's a poem for everything. And that's the
Hmm.
point of her shop, right? Is that
Hmm.
there's something that you can find for every ailment, every moment in life, every era, every milestone, every positive thing, every struggle, every challenge. And she just
Minor or big.
exactly, exactly. It can be light, it can be heavy. There's poetry for all of it. So, a couple of things. I want to just encourage everybody, wherever you are, to go find a poetry pharmacy. There's 3 now, and also
Shropshire, London and York.
and York. And the fourth one is online. And she says it's
Hmm.
almost like having a fourth shop because, you can get whatever you need online. You heard her, she kind of delivers globally now, I think. So that's the first thing. Go spend your money in the right place and get the right medicine. And
Hmm.
second of all, Sam, this is just occurring to me, but do you and me need to do a poetry special at some point?
Oh, I think we might.
I
Oh,
mean, it's the natural way to go, I think. No?
next blanket and brew.
I reckon
I'll see you
blanket
there.
brew and bard. How about that?
Ooh,
Just off the
I'm
top of my
excited.
head.
I am so down for that. Just give me a
Okay.
date, a time. I'm here. I will bring my poetry.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, I had some of my collection up here. I don't know if anyone noticed. I just wanted to prove that I also read poetry. So,
I did bring mine.
oh my
However, I
gosh,
forgot they were there
you've got the
because,
whole selection.
yes, the whole selection.
How beautiful is that? I'm
Oh,
jealous.
wait, the
Oh,
whole
the main
selection.
one. Okay,
Can't
that is
forget Wild
plenty.
Remedy.
Lots and lots of poetry. So at some point we'll figure out a date and we'll also do some poetry. And we'd obviously love you all to be interactive with this. So share your favourite poems. Let us know the ones that have got you through the tough times. Your favourite poets that you're discovering, rediscovering. So many of you said, kind of school put you off a bit, and now
Mhm.
you're rediscovering it. Let's, share. Let's make this interactive.
And let's make poetry as cool as it can ever be in 2026, because it
Yeah.
should be.
Amen to that. Well, thank you all again, once again, for joining us. We really appreciate all your comments, all your attendance, everything. Just being part of this community means so much. And we will see you next week where we have another amazing guest. So please join
We
us again.
will. Yes, and thank you again a million times over for how supportive you all are. And we have something exciting coming, so keep an eye on the stories. But we have a little thank you to come.
Yeah. Special
And
thanks
we will,
for our book slugs.
yes, for all of our amazing book slugs.
Yeah.
But we will see you next week, Wednesday, 7:30. You know the drill by now. But we will see you on
See you
Wednesday. And
then.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care till then.